Continue. Yeah, it doesn't look like the videos. It's integrated camera. Yeah.
That's okay.
All right. No one who wants to join at the moment. Here, I'll kind of turn this around the other way just so you can see it from there. I'll move over just so. Although I guess yeah, if there's no video, it doesn't really matter that much whether I'm sitting in frame or not, does it? Just so I'm not super loud. Hey Tom, what's up?
We're just
We
about-
are just about to.
So is it recording?
It's recording.
Okay.
now, yeah.
All right, we will call the meeting to order of the regular Powell Parks and Rec Committee meeting for June 2025. I don't believe there's any public comment online. Is there any public comment in the room? Hearing none. I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Oh, we can ram all sorts of stuff
We're
here
gonna-
tonight.
I circulated the May meeting minutes by email beforehand. Hopefully you've had a chance to review them. And with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the May meeting minutes.
You want to do this one?
Motion approved, is that what you said or no?
So I guess.
What's it say?
Motion to approve.
Yeah, you can like make a motion to approve
Okay.
or, yeah, I think that's really, making a motion to approve the minutes, basically, is all I have to say.
Okay, I'm making a motion to approve the minutes.
Perfect.
I'll second.
And then any discussion? None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, quickly on to old business. Okay. So the first item is the municipal planning grant meeting with the planning commission.
Mhm.
So that is set for next Tuesday. And it will be a standalone meeting with the planning commission with this as the only agenda item.
Cool.
So I cannot attend. So I put together on the spreadsheet looking form a list of all of the recommendations that were put forward in the BCRC report.
Mhm.
And I just made columns, so this is just a discussion, this is just Jennifer's initial thought, was to identify for all of the recommendations where the recommendation belongs or what body it belongs with.
Okay.
And there may be some that no one wishes to pursue.
Mhm.
And then also with the planning commission to identify if it can be added to the town plan in some way. The town plan kind of sets in motion a lot of, you know, what we're gonna be doing for the next so many years. We
Yep.
refer to the town plan in all of our grant applications and things like that. It's always like, what does your town plan say? Well, the town plan says, we will do street improvements.
Mhm. So the goal is to kind of get basically a wholesale endorsement of the entire project into the plan, right? Like we as a town think that this project is a great vision for what we want this area to look like, and we want to sort of pursue whatever options we feel like we can to sort of make this as much of a reality as possible, or do you want to kind of have them put each thing in there individually?
Well, I think that there are certain areas of the town plan that each of these fit into,
Mhm.
so,
Okay.
there's economic development. I'm trying, the recreation is a separate area of the town plan, so I think that's up for discussion with the planning commission,
And you're basing these subheadings on the old town plan, like what's
No.
existing? No.
This is what's on this document are the recommendations from BCRC
Oh, okay,
based on their town center visioning, you
right.
know.
Mhm.
So that's what, these were the headings that they
Okay,
came up with. They may or may not align with the town plan,
okay.
but I think if, you know, there's some areas where it talks about, Route 7 commercial stretch
Mhm.
where retail opportunities focusing on vacant spaces and attracting neighborhood level food services and retail. To
Mhm.
me, that's more of a planning commission,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, kind of a thing. So my suggestion would be at the meeting to review each of the recommendations to identify
Ooh,
if there's a body, whether it's Parks and Rec, I don't know if Concom was even some of these, Planning Commission, other, you know, maybe the select board is,
Mhm.
you know, should be a party to act on, if they choose, right? And if it should be referenced in the town plan in some way.
Great.
So I think that's what I see as the purpose of the meeting.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry I can't make it the next 2 Tuesdays, so I kind of wanted to make sure it happened sooner rather than later.
No problem.
But I'm happy to send this along, and if you want to modify it or.
Cool, yeah, I'll definitely bring this with if you wanna share around, yeah, I think this will be really helpful as a place to start, and I can, I happen to know one of the people on the planning commission really
Okay.
well, so I can maybe
Perfect.
even sit down with him and we can kind of talk over sort of what the strategy is together,
Sure,
just to make sure we kind of, yeah, are
Mhm.
productive when we sit down.
and I can send this to Fred, who I think is the chair.
Yep.
And then he can also circulate it to the members.
Great, awesome.
Ahead of the meeting. I think that's the start. I think this is an initial discussion. There's probably gonna be other discussions.
For sure. No, I think this is great. Like hopefully what we can, what we'll get out of this is where there's really consensus, where everyone's excited and we can just focus on those things first.
Yeah,
Cool,
okay.
great. Thank you. That's a lot of work there.
Did you have any comments or input on that?
No.
I can send this, I'll circulate
Yeah.
this, so if you wanna make adjustments to it or anything,
Okay.
you know, you can feel free. Okay, Borac Grant Pownell Town Forest, seems like it was a busy communication day on that topic. So we can chat and bring Alexandra up to speed on some of the developments. With that.
Yeah, it's mostly, I'd say it's mostly good news. So the one kind of sticking gears that we didn't sort of realize was that there's a specific designated area within the town forest where building new trails is really strongly discouraged, and doing that would require a bunch of extra scrutiny from the DLT, which doesn't mean we couldn't do it, but unfortunately, the trail, part of the Taconic Crest Connector Trail, there's a few little sections that are like, it's kind of semantic whether it's a trail or not. So I'm gonna get with Donald Campbell from VLT and just sort of, you know, maybe take him out there.
Vermont Land Trust. Is it?
Yeah, Vermont Land Trust. So yeah, I don't think it's a deal breaker. It means it'll probably take a little extra work to get those trails developed, but that was just something we weren't really aware of, that
Yeah.
they really want us, and we want to do this too. We really want to focus on using existing logging roads everywhere that we can versus kind of building new trails.
And why was it discouraged? Just
Well, it's a
environmental?
It's called
Yeah.
ecologically
Yeah.
sensitive zone, like it's
Uh-huh.
really specific, there's 66 acres.
It's this
Yeah.
dry oak forest
Yeah.
area, which is
Okay.
kind of right, I'll take you up there sometime. It is beautiful. It's absolutely worth preserving, and I think there's a very good argument to be made
Yeah.
with VLT that like, in that, because these are trails that go almost all the way and then kind of peter off into social trails and deer paths.
Uh-huh.
So by just adding this little connector, we keep people on a designated path and keep them from going off and doing other stuff. And honestly, if we build a path, like the animals start using it too, you know, so I think it'll take a little extra finesse, and it may require us to sort of rethink exactly how we allocate cash with YCC, depending on sort of how far we get, but I'm gonna get with Donald Campbell and sort of sort that out in the next couple of days, because we're kind of on a tight time scale.
Yeah, I think it's a smaller area than we were thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, based on, you know, some of the maps I've seen, it's 66 acres of the 1,000 acres. It just happens to be very close to the trail, you know, the area.
Yeah.
So I really need to clarify with him, because like the map he sent me had a huge blob that he said was all
Okay,
so maybe maybe I don't fully understand exactly what the situation is there. If you want, either during the meeting or afterwards, I'm happy to show you at you two, Tom, if you're interested, like. Now that we kind of have the lower loop figured, I can kind of show you where it is, and like theoretical ideas if you want to.
So it's actually a good exercise because as we're putting together the integrated management plan. We really want to highlight these items and say, okay, anything in this ecological sensitive zone. Or within 50 feet of a stream, you need permission from Vermont.
Mhm.
So we really need to call that out so that future
Yeah.
folks are aware. Other than that, it's, you know, the land is pretty much, you know, you can do, you have permission as long as it's part of the management plan that you were intending, you know, to develop this.
Right.
Then it's no big deal. The other change, I think since our last meeting, is that the Youth Conservation Corps was originally coming the first 2 weeks in September. And now they're coming June 30th to July 11th.
Wow.
Really soon.
How?
Changing schedule.
They had a bunch of their funding came through the same channels as AmeriCorps funding, so they had a bunch of projects that got kind of stalled out. And so, or slowed down, so they just sort of were switching priorities around.
So good news and bad news, babe. Bad news.
Yeah, bad news in general, but yeah, I'd say generally good news for us. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be bad to wait until September, given sort of how tight things are getting, but we gotta get them out there whenever they can, and I think we're as ready as we're gonna be, and luckily none of the things that came up in the last few days affect the main area we want them to focus on, so
Yeah.
we could always just, you know, I have a few extension ideas, like there's lots of ways we could put them to work in that area and keep them for the full 2 weeks if we need to.
So it would be great, I think, and we haven't heard from the project manager yet, but to sort of have a time where we could meet the folks that are working.
Definitely.
You know, as a Parks and Rec committee, I think, you know, welcome them, and I think when they built the Hoosick Bend Trail, like we had a barbecue for them, or had, you know, we actually did
That'd be
some
really
hospitality for them.
Really
Because they were here for like a week or two building the Hoosick Bend Trail.
Do you think if they're starting right again in June, right, we could blow a little bit of money on like a pizza party for them or something like that when they come to town?
Sure, as long as, yeah, we'll work that out, but yeah, it would be nice to understand their plan.
Yeah.
When they're gonna arrive,
Definitely.
and definitely, yeah, show them some hospitality.
So yeah, this is oh no, that's the parcel, so like this is the map. This is essentially the map that Donald sent me with the this is the, what was it called? Significant natural communities. Was
No,
like,
it's not significant natural communities.
well, yeah, so
It's ecological sensitive zone.
well, yeah, and like when I looked at his email, like the reason I came to that layer was because when I looked at his email, I was trying to figure out what the heck it was, and clicking through some layers, and like that one, here we go.
The significant natural communities were identified by the state, and like basically the whole tract is a significant natural community.
Oh, okay, so he said, okay, green zones with the state natural heritage data, you can build trees out. The red squiggly cross-hatched areas are the ecological protection zones, so that's from a map that he sent just a little earlier. Here we go.
And it's just this right here,
Just that area.
just that area, there's this one right there.
Awesome. All right, we're in the clear. Then.
Okay.
We're golden. We are so golden. Oh, that's great news.
Yeah, Yeah,
Excellent. Oh, he'll be really happy to hear that too.
so you can sleep now.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Oh no, I was pretty crestfallen after that meeting that yeah, maybe that wasn't gonna work out. All right, that's excellent news.
Yeah, so like I said, I read the conservation easement before
Yeah.
it came, and it does call it out, and it says it's 66 acres, so I knew it couldn't be too large of a tract of land.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to kind of, yeah, I'll get that overlaid on my map just so we kind of know where it is. Yeah, awesome.
Anything else I'm trying to think with, I think the only other item, and I'm glad Tom is here, is I wanted to talk about the integrated management plan and the incorporating the history of the tannery. kind of wanted to ensure that the woodlands and the history of that land is incorporated in the document, so it's not lost. I've done a little research. I actually went on to Pownell Historical Society, and there's some other areas, but there was, it was a water system that provided the water for the tannery and to North Pownell. There were also sawmills on the property before that, so I'm curious to find out if there was any logging done off of the property for the sawmills. And then I'm also interested in documenting how the town came to acquire the property. And,
Mhm.
you know, what came with that. So anyway,
That'd be good. Using research over here.
yeah, that'd be great.
I know there was logging on that mountain, on our side of the mountain, pretty extensively, whether it's connected to the tannery, I don't know.
Yeah. The town, I mean, the tannery acquired the woodlands in tracts, you know, like over the years it acquired all, so I'm curious why they were acquiring all that property. And I'm thinking it had to do with some kind of logging, but I know the water supply was very important to the tanning operation. But I don't know exactly why they owned all the woodlands.
That's a source of fuel.
Yeah, so I'm curious to document that.
Mhm.
In this guiding document that will live on. Yeah,
So
so
I'm happy to check them out.
great, that'd be wonderful. Is there anything else?
Well, just to piggyback on that, like, one of the projects I'm kind of trying to look ahead to in the town for, well, sort of two things that might dovetail is, this handicap accessible trail. And like, some sort of interpretive walking path. That maybe incorporate some of this tannery, I mean, it could literally be a walking path that sort of tells you the tannery's history, so you go up. And I wonder, you know, we've been kind of talking about applying for some grants and looking around, and like, I wonder if there's a way we could try and kind of pull those two things together. And get some funding to do, yeah, like a paved or gravel path. That has some of this history lower down on it and then kind of continues up to this beautiful viewpoint, that, you know, that has a, you know, road that just goes kind of straight up to it.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's so important, that you don't lose that perspective when you're up in that forest.
Mhm.
What it was. And of course, pre-tannery, pre-European settlement, was indigenous people's lands, so
Mhm, yep.
that's.
Yeah, once we get down to the other side and
Yeah.
have trails connecting, like
Yeah.
that area also could use its own sort of funding source and like a dedicated sort of project. And I think that's good compound stuff in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I've made like preliminary contact with some folks that are, you know, able to kind of give us at least a little bit of support, morally, if not financially, to do a little work down there.
Great.
And like we were talking about earlier too, like the dam and like all the pollution and that, you know, PFOAs and that whole story is a really interesting one to tell too, but we can't tell it until we can get people over there effectively.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know if in our lifetime that, you know, pollution will ever be resolved.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's really something.
Yeah. Although there's also a cool story to tell with like the good work that was done on Hoosick River and how, you know, just over the course of a few decades that made enormous difference. out
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, we'll,
Yeah,
make
yep.
enormous improvements.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Special friend.
Yeah, everybody, cool.
with that, we'll move on to, Center Street Park Maintenance Plan. I don't know if you have a chart.
Yeah, Cliff and I talked, I have a really good Home Depot shopping cart going.
Oh, good.
I think what we had talked about was $700. So
Okay.
I wasn't I was trying to kind of be conservative,
Yeah,
but if
yeah.
we need to spend the money, like, I think, I can buy extra supplies for, you know, the next time we have to do repairs, and yeah, I was thinking about getting some like, if we have extra money, some like porch paint to put on the climbing wall to try and preserve that surface a little bit better and you know, exterior paint for the sides of the skate ramp, screws, you know, concrete patch and like paint car, you know, yeah, I can come up with, I could probably get us pretty close to $700 without trying too hard. And Cliff is excited to spend some time working out with Billy this summer to do those patches and
Great.
stuff.
I think it is important that we maintain what we invested in.
Definitely.
Did I talk to you about the pump
Yes.
the ball?
So I looked into it and unfortunately, yeah, it sounds like very newest, fanciest top of the line zero pump has like a built-in air pressure gauge. There are a variety of kind of inline gauges we could attach to end. Like I think what we should do is get a good heavy duty air pressure gauge checker. And I can make a lanyard out of just a piece of metal cable and crimp it and we can put it on there, so at least I'll have a way to check. And then the other thing was an adapter for like pumping sports balls.
Yeah.
I think those we can get on Amazon and you
Okay.
just basically stick it in the end of the existing thing and lock it in place. So
Okay,
I'll put both of those things in
that,
this, yeah,
Okay.
too. And I don't know, are there any other like yeah, like repair-y things or like, you know, extra, you know, should I buy another frisbee golf pole or like yeah.
I don't know if we
'cause-
should buy another basketball hoop, if the backboard is broken.
Oh, that's a good idea, yep. What about that, I know we were talking about a playground, I know that's probably more expensive than just that $1,300.
So very expensive.
Is it, okay?
Yeah, I was thinking of, sometimes schools retire their playground equipment and get new equipment.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking that might be the best opportunity for us to afford a piece of playground. They're like tens of thousands of dollars or something.
Okay,
What
Yeah.
you see up at Willow Park and that is probably in the hundreds of thousands.
wow,
Dollars.
man, yeah, let's go ask Williams College.
Yeah, it seems, yeah. Use some hand-me-down
Yeah,
stuff.
okay,
But it would
alright.
still be entertaining to children and not, you know, not be unsafe, but not be brand new.
Seth might have some good connections on that, being in the like, Berkshire County Commission, he knows people out there.
So for the Home Depot list.
Yeah.
And the items that you talked about, which were the air pressure gauge checker and the sports adapter, so
Mhm.
if you have an Amazon list and a Home Depot list, send that to Tara.
Okay,
Tara has to purchase everything, but it would be great if somebody could make a motion that we spend those monies on the items for the Center Street Park maintenance and the two items that you mentioned for the bike pump.
sure, alright, I'll make a motion to spend up to $700 buying supplies for maintaining and repairing the skate park and the adapter for sports balls and pressure gauge to and any sort of related supplies to permanently affix those to the bike repair station.
Is there a second? Second. All right, is there any discussion, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Is there any, I'll just CC you in the
Yeah.
email to Tara with those lists and just say this is our, what
It's
is,
the general fund.
okay. This is coming out of the general fund, okay, cool,
Yeah.
great, that's a good chunk of it spent.
Yeah, right. Well, so, and we've needed to do it, so it's
Yeah.
probably a little bit overdue.
One other thought I had was, so I've been working with Alexandra and, we just pulled this woman, Lucy, who does the panel signage to do these ATV signs.
Right.
And so I think Tara said she could find some money somewhere to do that, I don't know exactly what her plan was.
I think we looked at the grant very well. Thought that it qualifies for reimbursement under the grant.
Okay,
Because it talks about signage.
Yep. So one thing we could potentially do, because and I hope she understands this, what I'm asking her to do essentially is take like the, you know, town of Pownell, like the font and the branding and the logo. And sort of mock that up on like a big metal sign that we can then kind of put whatever designs we want to on.
Template.
So yeah, like if we're doing that anyway, like this might be a really great opportunity to just buy like, even if it's just one sign per sort of major recreation spot in
Sure.
town.
Mhm.
You know, the South Stream Preserve there, like the, you know, the town forest, whatever, just something that kind of unifies all those places that just says like, you know, Powell Town Recreation Spot or, you know, whatever might be a way to spend a little of that and kind of mark some stuff in the process. And since we've already got the ball rolling on that, we could probably get a contract signed in a couple of weeks.
Okay,
What would those signs all say though? Would they say maintained by
So
or?
what I'm imagining is kind of like, you know, the Bennington has, was it Bennington Recreation signs, it's like a square sign that has, it just says like Bennington Recreation. You'll see them on, there's one on like Monument Road as you turn off Route 7, there's a bunch along South Stream Road. So that's kind of what I'm imagining is like just a sign that says, yeah, like
recreation here.
Powell Parks, and then it says the name of the place, and like there are potentially some places where there's a little bit of signage, but just something that kind of unifies it. And maybe has like our, you know, just like general email, just for, you know, questions, concerns, whatever, or like a, you know, QR code that sends people this town map that's gonna be up there or something like that. It just to start like creating this like presence that, and this sort of
Yeah.
thing that people will recognize, I guess.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. The South Stream is a state property. So
Yeah, I
we'll
wonder,
know that one.
I don't wanna like, I don't wanna claim ownership
Just
of
to
these things,
identify
but
it.
just identify, even if it was like out on, you know, it may be sort of dovetailing with this WinX signage thing, like maybe it's putting the signs on the road that
Mhm.
say South Stream Recreation Area, 0.1 miles on the left, you know, and that way we're not claiming ownership over it, but we're just identifying that it's there. Actually, in some ways, I think that's more helpful, it's just like road signs.
Yeah, because you would easily drive by that.
Yes, absolutely. And so I had a great meeting with Joel Burrington. We took this drive all the way around town.
Oh, great.
He's cool with us basically putting together a group of volunteers to, and they'll tell us what materials we need and they will teach us how to install one of these things. And then we can call DigSafe and kind of make plans to do basically one road at a time. Over the course of the next like, I mean, we've got all the skills, and then hopefully we can get them to install the ones along Route 7 because they might have, there's more like liability issues with like volunteers working alongside Route 7 there, so. But yeah, he seemed in spirit with us, I don't know how long it'll take him to do that, but he's not opposed to us kind of taking things into our own hands there, so why not install a few more times while we're at it?
Sure. Sure. With respect to the signs that you were just talking
Mhm.
about, I don't know, I know that the sign for the town historical, I think Tara said that was $400. So I don't know, like, how much per sign.
We'll hopefully know more pretty soon, I
Okay.
think Lucy said she was gonna try and get something else in the next day or two,
Okay.
at the latest, so like. I'm hoping, I have no idea in terms of price, but I'm hoping like sub $100, like, you know, metal sign, no fancy gold leaf or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm imagining, I mean, we're talking about probably under 10 signs total, and maybe we just pick 3 or 4 that we feel like are sort of a big priority or like some of the nicest spots and start with those.
Because we're not gonna have a meeting before the fiscal year ends,
Mm,
we should probably make a motion.
okay,
To-
well, are there any other ideas, like, I don't wanna,
Yeah, I had a new business, but we can talk about it now, like, just I sent around the financials that basically. Demonstrate that we should probably have about $1,300 left over, and that's if. The Route 346 field spends the money that we allotted to them.
Mhm.
If they don't, then we have those monies as well.
Mhm.
But the $700 we just talked about for the Center Street Park maintenance.
Will come out of that,
Okay,
so then we would have, you know, like 600 and something remaining. If the ball field spends its money, if it doesn't spend the money, then we have.
What about paying somebody, if we end up with that money, hiring this, like that guy Matt from Green Mountain Club or something to take a walk up this trail that I'm thinking about for a handicap path and kind of do a little bit of like a feasibility study, like trail designy kind of thing for something like that, like start kind of laying the groundwork for that path.
Okay, I don't know how we,
It'd be hard to get that done under the,
I don't know what the town requirements are usually like a W-9 and a certificate of insurance.
okay.
A lot of times, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I don't 100% know the answer to that. Like, I think you could hire someone, I just don't exactly know.
Yeah, what would,
If it's just a W-9 form so that they can pay them. which
yeah, it's hard, because like
should
we won't necessarily know until this money is spent or not until a week from now or
Right.
more, right? So we might have to spend it like really fast.
Yeah,
So what's a easy, like kind of very quick thing that we can do with about $1,000 if we end up with it?
the only thing I could think of are things like a couple of benches for the park
It's a great idea.
or something.
Yeah.
A picnic table for the Hoosic Bend Trail,
Mhm.
one of those outdoor things that are very heavy, they get delivered by freight.
Yep.
And so you have to carry it up like piece by piece on the trail
Uh,
and assemble it at the trail, is the only,
uh,
you know. That's the only,
The picnic
the
table.
picnic table.
And where would you be ordering that from?
We have ordered it online, we purchased a couple of them in the
Okay.
past, and like Uline
Yeah.
or some,
Okay,
and it's,
since we just ordered, we just got a new picnic table at Roland's.
mhm.
And we bought it from a place in Adams called Sheds and Stuff.
oh, okay, so it's like a wood,
Yeah,
okay,
now, not cheap,
Mhm.
but solid as hell.
Yeah.
That thing is not going anywhere.
yeah. That's the other thing that we have to be careful, that's why the ones down in the park are so heavy,
Mhm.
cause sometimes things walk off.
Yeah,
The one that we have at Strobridge Park is like one of those metal and
no,
plasticky ones.
Oh, yeah, they're like PVC dipped metal or whatever,
Yeah, like it's like
yeah,
a softer coating on top of the metal. you know what I'm
Right.
talking about?
right.
Those are about $1,200 a piece.
Um,
so our 8-footer caught with a special pine top because we didn't want the,
Mhm.
like, we didn't want the treated wood on top, it's 660.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Literally.
I mean, the
got it.
alternative that we could do is, we could come together again before the end of June
Mhm.
and not on the 24th, because I won't be around. And make another decision on how to spend the money if we don't know exactly how to earmark it tonight.
I mean, I would say that the signage really is sort of a. Is a great starting point, and we really, probably the sky's the limit in terms of the signage, we could buy 3 signs or we can buy 10 signs.
Mhm,
like that.
mhm.
I feel like that gives us some flexibility in terms of
That's
what we have to
true.
spend.
That's true, yep.
Well, we could potentially agree to spend like $1,000 on the signs.
Sure, up to $1,000.
Up to $1,000 on the signs, and then anything that's above what we have in the general fund, we can take from the other checking.
Okay,
from the
cool.
other account that has no expiry.
Okay,
Oh, I get it, okay.
okay. And yeah, I think if there's anything left over last minute, I think, yeah, a bench is a great idea, or a picnic table or whatever is a good, easy way.
Addition to
I mean, yeah, we can order that.
People have requested a bench,
Totally.
before, because they didn't like sitting at the picnic table.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we had the swing, but obviously it was vandalized a few
Right.
times, so I think a bench is a fine addition, an outdoor bench.
Yeah, we can just cement it into the
Yeah,
ground, so no one will be able to break it.
Whatever, so, if someone wants to make a motion to spend up to $1,000 on recreational signage.
You wanna do this one?
I'm
You want me to?
gonna try, I'm gonna make a motion to spend up to $1,000 on recreational signage.
Great, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? No? Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Cool, so, yeah, I don't know, if either of you are interested in kind of we could maybe just have a little sort of side meeting and sit down and just kind of brainstorm a list of kind of what the highest priority things would be in order.
Mhm.
I guess probably makes sense to wait until after we know sort of how approximately how much each sign would cost. And then I can put together like a plan for sort of where all these things will be, and then obviously like we can order the signs and then we'll have to figure out the materials to like get them up out of the budget next year
Yeah,
or,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
at a later date.
yeah. Okay,
So yeah, I'll send something around and anybody who isn't here can also get involved. I just wanna make sure you get input from everybody.
since it's 6:40, I'm gonna move along to celebrate Pownell Day. So I have a list, sorry, it won't let me download it off of the Walmart website. But I have a list of items that we purchase, that do not need to be refrigerated. And then we have a second list of items that have to be refrigerated that we would buy like the day before the
Okay,
pickup, or a couple days before the picnic. I have a freezer at my house. I just would worry $400 worth of hamburgers. I don't want to take the risk if I had a failure of some kind. So I have a list. Let me just see. I think it's $330. Of course, I don't have the Wi-Fi on right now. What's happening? And I would order those and just either store them downstairs here or in my garage. It's things like water and condiments and, you know, chips, all the
Great.
stuff for the picnic that's not going to spoil before July 26th. So, I want to give you the right dollar amount. Give me 1 second, because now I have the Wi-Fi connection. Yes. 2025 town picnic, this is it, okay. So it's paper towels, plastic cups, pickles, disinfecting wipes, kids' waters, aluminum pan to store the stuff, napkins, paper plates, water bottles, ketchup, disinfecting, aluminum foil, relish, chips, and some kids' cookies. That totals $322.
Great.
So I like to ask someone to make a motion to purchase the town picnic items.
Sure. I'll make a motion for Jennifer to purchase the non-perishable
Thank you.
town picnic
Think of that
items.
word.
For up to $350 approximately.
Right. Is there a second?
Second.
Great, any discussion? All in favor?
Oh, sorry, I did have one question.
Yeah.
Last time we talked about an application we're gonna put in from Stewart's for the
Yeah.
mountain. Oh, is that coming up or?
That is, it's in, the application is in, I haven't heard anything back from
Oh,
them.
okay.
It sounds like historically it hasn't been a problem, so we're
Yeah.
assuming that the same will be the case.
I think, okay, good,
yeah.
all right, so no.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. In July, I will ask for a second motion to purchase the perishable items,
Right.
which is what I couldn't come up with the words for. That is currently $350. All right, great. I think you gave an update on the recreational signage.
Yeah. Yep.
I think you're waiting for the state to.
The WinEdge stuff, so we are waiting on Susan from Local Motion is doing some updating to the map to sort of comply with the newest standards for all the signs. Once we have that, then we file a 1111 permit, which is getting permission from the state to do work on the state right of way.
Okay.
And then we're just waiting basically for, really, it's mostly Local Motion, like once they have a map and as long as, Joel is okay with it, we can start putting together volunteers and going out and starting to put in the signs, at least on the town roads.
Is it one permit for all of them, or is it one permit
So
per
the
side?
permit is just for Route 7, and I
Okay.
believe there's like, I think it's like 6 signs that are
Okay.
along Route 7.
Okay.
On the town roads, I think it's more just like getting the blessing of the highway department, and we have to pull, dig safe
Right.
permits for each. So, yeah, I talked with them, and they said basically do it one road at a time, which will usually be like 2, 4, 6 signs, which is definitely achievable in a day, you know, put like 2 or 3 people on each one and do it over the course of a few hours.
Okay. So it's like the state is trying to come up with the standard policy for this, because it's not just gonna be in Powell, it's gonna be throughout the state, right?
Yes, that's right, you're right, yeah, they're expecting more of this to kind of come down the line, so since we're the early adopters, we get to kind of, we're gonna be the first ones in Vermont to have signage up, which is awesome, but it means that we have to deal with all this, yes.
Go through the head of it.
Yes, yeah, but it luckily, it seems like they're excited about it, they've got a lot of great people working on it, so it'll take time, but it will happen, I'm confident now, we're on the right.
Great.
Yep.
July community
Yeah.
conversation, so there is a paper that I gave you where my suggestions are, should the PTF be closed to recreation annually during the 2-week black rifle hunting season? And then I put, after all of these, like sample language from the a draft management plan. Should dog walking be allowed in the PTF? Should dogs be leashed at all times? Should class 1 e-bikes be allowed in the PTF? And should campfires be allowed on a limited basis in the PTF? And then just some draft language with that. And then general topics for community input. I stole a couple of questions from your survey.
Oh, great, yeah.
But this is just like, I don't know how this works, I've not been to the library. So I don't know if either of you are familiar with the process.
Yeah, we both are.
Okay.
I mean, I think really we can kind of set it up however we want to, like the one that I set up the last time was like sort of an interactive map thing. But yeah, we could have this be like kind of a, you know, like one of these T charts, and people could put hash marks on one side or the other, or like
Sticky.
feed things in the boxes or stickies or whatever,
Alright,
Yeah, I'm wondering if it'd be nice if the questions are sort of larger and people can
yeah,
put their response, but that your sample language is maybe tacked on as well, but sort of separate.
yeah,
yeah.
I can set that, we're setting this up, I assume.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm happy to do that, when does this, then
it's
when?
July.
July, if we're a few days late, it's no big deal, yeah, it's July. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're cool kind of setting up, you know, something, you know, some sort of way to ask these questions and get answers, I will work with Tara on getting a nice big map printed out of the forest with like all the trails that you know, sort of like laid out, like this is what we're actually building, these are the other things we're thinking about.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And, you know, under the general topics, those were just 4 specific items that we definitely want input on.
Yeah.
But then, like, general, if there's other things you can think of that we should be informed about,
Yeah.
you know, like, you know, how can we best communicate with you about the forest? I feel like we ask that question all the time.
No, I mean, I like you have this in here, like, what can the town do to help you feel informed and heard as we develop the public access to this land? Yeah, like, I think, having just a little shoebox and index cards for just like, now that you've seen this, like, do you have any other thoughts, any other input that you wanna give us, just like write it down and put it in here.
Is there any way we could have the results of the original survey there as well? I'm just thinking that people will think they're like, you know, this has never been asked before, it might be interesting for them to see.
That's a great idea.
You know, 30 people have already said they want.
Yeah, we have the final report and we can.
That, maybe have that, I'll want to have that there.
Okay, so we'll do specific questions.
And that might also spark It's a new question, from somebody looking at it for the first time.
Big map, or Williams kids. Great, yeah, I think, and then just like general feedback or input. Alright, I think we can pull that off, yeah, maybe you and I can kind of work independently, and then maybe in the next like week or two, we can just get together for 15 minutes, and kind of make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
Cool, that'll be
Can
great.
you send me the text?
Of
Like,
course.
just send me that, yeah.
All right, Route 346 field updates. Oh, did you have something else with that?
No, I have an update on that, but it sounds like you do too.
Oh, 346.
Well, I just talked with Brian, emailed with Brian a little bit.
Oh.
It was mostly about the actually it's more the ice skating rink stuff than the
Okay.
346 stuff, to be fair.
That wasn't.
Yeah.
So for the field, the town is still working with youth sports to develop an agreement. I believe. Actually, has the town's agenda been posted for the Thursday meeting? Is the meeting Thursday?
There's a select board meeting.
I didn't look. I was wondering if it was on the agenda, that was all.
Here, let's see.
Oh yeah, it is, it's 2 hours ago it was posted. Mention town force transfer station, employee evaluation, purchasing policy, special meeting, office chair, Oak Hill, executive session, contractual. I don't see that on here. So before we go ahead with any plans, we want to make sure that the town and the youth sports have an agreement. I was there this weekend for a different event and I took pictures like along the property line, which is one of the items that they want clear, that we thought would be a good item. And there is quite a bit of space to be gained once the property line is cleared. I mean, it is way over. So, but what I'm thinking from that perspective, from a Parks and Rec perspective, is it could be a walking path. Like a decent sized walking path. Which
Around the
people-
field.
Around the
Yeah.
field. Informally, people do it now, but when the fence is up, it's very tight. The baseball fence is up, it's very tight to that property because it's so overgrown.
Yeah.
So I guess once we get the agreement in place, it would be meeting with the highway department. This is all through Tara, to identify what exactly the costs would be for the parking lot. The clearing of the property, I think already came in like $3,000.
Okay.
And then like what would it cost to put some gravel down and make a walk, like a real walking path? We had talked about some playground equipment or something, so it's, I guess all I wanna report is that it's going slowly.
No surprises there.
There is a grant in September of the Building Communities Grant, which is a 50-50 match, but it has to be shovel ready, so you have to have all your permits, which means the Route 346 permitting in place and everything. I don't know if we're gonna, I don't know on this timeline if we would make that, but things are going. But there's always next year.
Yeah.
Ice skating rink.
Oh yeah, so Brian said, yeah, do whatever the hell you want with those things, basically. Yeah, he it sounded like he wasn't interested in the ice skating rink again, so he said, yeah, most of it is pressure treated, so yeah, we could conceivably cut it down and use it to make some little benches or something for the town forest, or yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that'll be mostly like figuring out like some volunteer time at some point.
If we had that standard template, like I think we saw one that was like that Leopold bench.
Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, it could be pretty easy actually, to make the pieces and then assemble them. I don't know what kind of, I mean, I think it was 2x6s.
Yeah, I wonder, I assume that building is like locked up, right? Like
The shed is-
the shed, I'd love to just get in there and get a peek at like what's actually there.
Yeah, we should probably come up with a way to move it to the town warehouse too, so it's not in the youth sports shed.
Okay, yeah, depending on how much it is, I mean, I might be able to just like load
Yeah.
it back of the van or something.
But
like that.
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I couldn't even wager a guess
Okay.
what it is.
okay,
We talked about the financials and I think we're good with that unless anyone has any questions. I feel like our balance has been growing, sort of, but, we do have money to spend, so once we get the forest, you know, we can do some projects, we can match some grants, we have some funds to spend, so we should spend these money.
yeah,
All right, with that, next meeting, our next regular meeting will be in July, so around.
oh yeah, when's that meeting on the 17th, what time?
I think it's 6 o'clock,
6 o'clock.
let me just,
Not on the,
it's not there
not
yet.
on the calendar.
You would planning commission, ECRC project. Cool, okay, I will double check that I have nothing else done, yeah, okay, I will definitely be there and I will bring this
Okay.
paper.
All right.
And I'll be there because I asked. To be my
Awesome.
representative.
All right, and I'll confirm that with Hannah, just to
Cool.
make sure, I guess I did send an email though, so.
Awesome,
That was sent, if we need to meet in the interim, we can meet if we need to take action on something.
mhm,
But we may just wanna chat informally, once we know the plans of the Youth Conservation Corps.
yeah,
And that doesn't require a formal meeting or anything like that, because we're not deciding anything, we're just
Mhm.
talking about our plans with the Youth Conservation Corps.
Mhm.
So our next regular meeting date would be, wow, July 8th, that's so early. July 8th, I mean, we could push it to the 15th. Doesn't have to be the second Tuesday, but I guess we could try to stick with that if possible. If we're not gonna have a quorum, I'll push it out a little bit. Is there any public comment?
no, I just wanted to look.
Tom was actually here he had questions, but he'll be here in a minute.
All right, yeah, I can- I maybe answer them after the comment, you guys talking now right now.
Okay.
Dinner.
That, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved,
Second,
Second.
all right, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
Very good.
Alexander, do you want me to show you the
Yeah.
kind of general gist of this thing? So here's where, like, this is kind of our main road coming in, so basically, yeah, if we have the money. Basically, as soon as the easement opens up, there's a spot where you can walk. Like off the side of the main trail, and there's a path that kind of comes down through the woods here, that's already, it's like a pretty well established social path, it was probably an old logging road at one point. That then connects into a pretty major road that lots of ATVs are using, folks are coming in from Darling's property there. So you basically just cross it, you come up at just a little ways, and then we've got, they're gonna work on building a trail through like the drainage ditch to get us up to these two beautiful roads here. I think we're probably just gonna have enough money to develop one, but if they could develop both of them, that would be kind of another little miniature loop you could do in there. And this is a really pretty old logging road, and then go down this big main road that sort of crosses a bridge right here and then comes back to the to the trail and walk around. So like the whole thing, depending on how you do it, all the way from the parking lot is like 1 3/4 of a mile basically.
Okay.
And what I'm imagining is there's a trail that comes up here and continues up the mountain kind of over this way. It's on the USGS map. And I think that would make a really great handicap accessible. It's like a really straight shot road. It's really wide. It's super rutted out right now. And it goes up to this spot where it got clear cut at some point. There's tons of down trees and there's like this big boulder and a spot where you can really stand and get like a good view all the way out there. But it's like, it's steep and it's a ways out there. I mean, it's a couple miles probably. So that's a question of sort of like, it's one of the only views you can get, but you gotta work for it a little bit. That's usual. Anyway, so yeah, it's, if you wanna walk it at some point, like,
Okay.
I wanna do a little more scouting, and just really mark out like all the spots where it's really gonna need work. But it's really pretty up there, and it's a lot easier to get to than any of this graph.
Thanks for all your work, Nate, by the way, I appreciate it so much.
I'm so psyched, I can't believe this is actually gonna happen, and I figured I'd be in my grave before we had any trails up there.
Very cool.
Alright, see you later. Let me hit the start the next meeting. How you guys doing? Good.